Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. We always love when you send us stuff to dig into, and this time, wow, you really delivered. You sent over this guide, AI is not a toy, and it's got me thinking. It's a cybersecurity guide on AI dangers, which, honestly, that title alone kind of grabs you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it gets right to the point. It's like, hey, all this AI stuff, content creation, photos, all the cool tools that can make us super productive, there's a flip side.
Yeah, there's definitely a but coming.
Exactly. Big potential, but some serious risks too, especially on the cybersecurity front.
And that's why we're here today. We're going to dive deep into this guide, see what we can learn, and hopefully help you guys navigate this whole AI world a little bit safer.
That's the plan. And the guide actually lays things out really well. It breaks down the risks into three main areas. First, what you feed into AI and how it learns, the data part. Second, those sites offering free AI tools. You got to watch out for those. And then, of course, the classics, data leaks, malware, identity theft, all that fun stuff in the context of AI.
Right, because those threats aren't going anywhere, they just evolve.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start with that first one. Data input and training risks. Makes sense that what you put into AI matters, but the guide really gets into some specifics that I admit I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah, it digs deep. Like, one thing it really stresses is that even something that seems harmless, like putting your personal info or company data into AI, can actually lead to data leaks.
Oh, interesting.
It can't, and then you're talking about potential privacy violations, all sorts of problems you don't want.
And it's not just about what we put in directly, right? The guide talks about the risks of AI being trained on data that's, well, not secure or hasn't been vetted. Like, what are the consequences of that?
You hit the nail on the head. It's like if you were learning from a textbook that's full of errors, right? The output's going to be flawed.
Makes sense.
So if the data used to train the AI is biased or, just wrong, the AI can actually repeat those flaws in whatever it produces.
And that could lead to, I don't know, like bad decisions being made. Or even worse, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. It can have real-world consequences. And the guide even gets into these, super specific ways this can be exploited.
Like what? What are we talking about here?
Okay, so one example is these things called model inversion attack.
Model inversion attacks. Sounds scary.
It's a little mind-bending. Imagine being able to look at what an AI produces, like its output, and then figure out what original information was used to create it.
Whoa, so like working backwards.
Yeah, basically reverse engineering it. And even if the AI's output seems general, there are, techniques to potentially uncover those sensitive details that were fed in.
That's a bit unsettling.
It is. And then there's another type of attack, membership inference attacks.
Membership inference. Okay, what is that?
Okay, so let's say someone has a specific piece of information. Now, if they can interact with the AI, ask it questions, a membership inference attack might allow them to figure out if that exact piece of information was actually used to train the AI in the first place.
So it's like they're testing to see what the AI knows to figure out what it was trained on.
Exactly. And that's a huge privacy risk, especially if the training data included, personal or confidential stuff.
So just asking an AI a question could potentially reveal something sensitive about its training data.
That's the danger. And then the guide also talks about this broader problem of uncontrolled data sources, which is something we all need to be mindful of. Where the information comes from, it really matters.
Makes sense.
If you're training AI on data from sources that are, shady or poorly managed, you're introducing a whole bunch of potential problems right from the start.
It's like getting your health advice from some random online forum, right?
Pretty much.
And then the lack of data anonymization. This one seems more obvious, but I bet it's easy to overlook in practice.
Oh, yeah. If you're putting data into AI systems and you haven't properly removed personal details or masked them somehow, you're essentially leaving a trail that can lead back to individuals.
It defeats the whole purpose of trying to protect privacy.
Absolutely. Got to be careful with that.
Okay, so we've talked about the data itself, the risks there. Now let's move on to that second area. AI dangers of untrusted portals. This sounds like it's about being careful where we access these AI tools online.
It is. The guide is basically saying, hey, watch out for those websites offering free AI tools, especially if you're logging in with your regular credentials.
Because they might not be what they seem.
Right. They might be after something else. The guide really emphasizes the risk of data harvesting.
So these untrusted websites could be collecting our information without us knowing.
Yeah, think of them like digital vacuum cleaners, sucking up all sorts of data about you just because you logged in.
Sneaky.
Very sneaky. And it's not just passive collection. The guide also talks about phishing and social engineering tactics.
Right, those are the classic internet scams, right?
Exactly. And these untrusted sites often try to mimic the look of legitimate websites. Like they'll copy the design of a popular AI tool to trick you into giving them your username, password, the whole 9 yards.
So just because a website looks professional doesn't mean it's safe.
Nope, not at all. Got to look closely.
Then there's third-party data sharing, which to me, that's like the ultimate betrayal.
I agree. You think you're dealing with one website, but then suddenly your data is being sold off to who knows who, and you didn't even agree to it.
That's not cool.
Not cool at all. It could lead to spam, unwanted marketing, or even worse, your data ending up in the wrong hands.
And the last point in this section is malicious code injection, which sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, this is where things can get really dangerous. By logging into an untrusted website, you might be giving them permission to, without you knowing, put harmful software on your computer or phone.
Like a virus.
Yep, or something similar. And that could compromise your entire device. They could steal your files, even control your device remotely.
That's a nightmare scenario.
It is. So yeah, you got to be really careful where you're going online and who you're trusting with your data.
Okay, so we've talked about the data itself, the risks with untrusted websites. Now let's dive into that third key area. Data breaches, malware, and identity theft. Those are like the big scary things we always hear about online, but how do they specifically connect to AI?
Well, the guide makes it clear that AI tools, if they're not built with strong security in mind, they become targets.
Right, another vulnerability.
Exactly. And malware attacks are a huge concern here. It even gets specific, talking about different types of malware, starting with ransomware.
Ransomware, that's the one where they lock up your data and demand payment to get it back, right?
That's the one. And it's not just targeting regular computers anymore. Ransomware can hit AI platforms and the data they hold too. And we're talking serious disruption, potential financial losses, the whole thing.
Scary stuff.
It is. Then you've got spyware, which is even sneakier.
Spyware, yeah. How does that work?
Spyware is designed to collect information from your device without you knowing. It could be anything: keystrokes, websites you visit, files, all being sent back to the attacker.
That's so creepy.
It is. It's like someone's watching your every move. And then, of course, all of this can lead to identity theft, which is, the worst case scenario.
It is.
The guide really hammers home the point that identity theft is a very real consequence of data breaches, malware infections, all of that, especially in this age of AI.
And it lists a whole bunch of ways this personal information can be stolen, starting with data breaches. Those seem to be in the news all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately. And these big breaches, they can expose tons of sensitive information all at once, making them a gold mine for identity thieves.
And then there's phishing, which we talked about before.
Yep, phishing is still a huge problem. And scammers are getting more sophisticated all the time. Fake emails, fake websites, even social media messages, all designed to trick you into giving up your personal info.
And then there's the scary stuff like malware and keyloggers, which can record everything we do without us knowing.
Exactly. They can capture your passwords, your bank details, all sorts of sensitive stuff, all in the background. You wouldn't even know it's happening.
And then, related to AI specifically, the guide mentions unsecured AI platforms themselves being a source of data theft.
Right. If those platforms aren't built with security as a priority, they can become like leaky buckets, accidentally spilling user data.
So even the tools themselves could be a risk.
They can be. And then there's public Wi-Fi exploits. We've all heard about this, but it's worth repeating.
Yeah, using public Wi-Fi can be risky.
It can be. Unless you take precautions, someone on the same network could be snooping on your internet traffic, potentially stealing your logins, your financial info, all sorts of stuff, if it's not encrypted.
Yikes. And then even social media, which seems so harmless, the guide calls it social media harvesting.
Yeah, what we share publicly online can be pieced together to create a surprisingly detailed profile of who we are. And then scammers can use that to impersonate us or answer security questions. It's all out there.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. It's a pretty clear but also pretty scary picture of all the potential risks. But thankfully, the guide doesn't just leave us hanging. It goes on to give us some best practices for secure AI usage, which is what we really need. So let's get into that, starting with safe handling of data. That seems like the foundation of everything.
It is. The guide really stresses that data is the fuel for AI, so how we manage it is absolutely critical. And the first line of defense is encryption, both in transit, like when it's being sent over the internet, and at rest when it's stored on our devices or in the cloud.
So like when we see that little padlock icon in our browser, that's encryption at work.
Exactly. That's TLS or SSL. Those are protocols for secure communication. And encrypting files on our computers and in cloud storage, that's also super important. Basically scrambling the data so if someone intercepts it, they can't read it.
And the guide mentions end-to-end encryption for really sensitive information. What's the difference?
End-to-end encryption takes it a step further. It ensures that only the intended recipient can decrypt the data. No one else, not even the service provider, can access it.
Got it. So that brings us to encryption key management, which sounds kind of complicated.
It can be, but the main idea is simple. Your encryption is only as strong as the keys used to unlock it. So you need to store and manage those keys securely. using methods like HSMs, hardware security modules, or KMS, key management services, and change them regularly.
So it's like you can have the best lock in the world, but if someone steals the key, it's useless.
Exactly. Then another crucial point is vetting data sources.
Right, we talked about that a bit earlier. Got to be careful where the data is coming from.
Absolutely. Before using any data in your PI systems, you need to make sure the source is legit. Is it a reputable company, a secure database, or even within your organization, is it coming from a trusted source? You got to check.
And it's not enough just to come from a good place. It also has to be good quality data, right? The guide talks about data quality assurance.
Oh yeah, super important. If the data is inaccurate or has been tampered with, it can mess up your AI models big time. So implementing checks to validate and clean the data, that's essential.
And of course, we have to keep legal stuff in mind too, right? Regulatory compliance.
Absolutely. GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, all those rules are there to protect people's privacy, and you have to make sure your data handling practices comply with those regulations. Otherwise, you could be in big trouble.
Makes sense. Then there's limited exposure, which seems like common sense, but probably easy to forget.
Yeah, it's about minimizing risk. Only use the data you absolutely need for your AI systems, and whenever possible, anonymize the data or de-identify it before feeding it in.
And to control who can access what, the guide recommends data segmentation and access control, using something called RBAC. What's that all about?
Think of it like this. You wouldn't give everyone in your house the same key to every room, right? RBAC, role-based access control, is similar. It's about giving people or systems access only to the specific data they need, nothing more.
Smart. And lastly, for data handling, we have data lifecycle management.
This is about having clear rules about how long you keep data and when you securely delete it. Holding onto data longer than necessary just increases the risk of it being compromised.
Okay, so that was a really thorough look at handling data safely. Now, the next big area of best practices is use trusted platforms only, which takes us back to that whole conversation about shady websites.
Right, do your research. Before using any AI tool or platform, the guide says check out the company behind it. Look for those security certifications like ISO 27001 or SOC2. They show the company meets certain security standards. And read reviews from other users. See what their experience has been.
Like checking restaurant reviews before you go eat somewhere.
Exactly. Those real-world experiences can give you valuable insight into how secure a platform actually is.
Then there's strong authentication. The guide really hammers home the importance of multi-factor authentication, MFA, for all accounts.
MFA is a game changer. By requiring a second form of verification, like a code sent to your phone or an app, you're making it way harder for hackers to get into your accounts, even if they steal your password.
And for organizations using multiple AI tools, single sign-on, SSO, can be helpful.
Yeah, SSO, if it's implemented correctly, is great. You log in once, and you can securely access multiple applications without having to enter separate credentials each time. It simplifies things and helps manage security across different platforms.
And regular credential audits are important too.
Absolutely. Make sure only authorized people have access to what they need, nothing more.
Now, the third area of best practices is about those classic threats we discussed: cybersecurity measures against malware and identity theft.
This is where all those basic security practices we should all be doing anywhere become even more important in the context of AI.
So the guide starts off strong, emphasizing keeping everything updated.
Yep, all your AI tools, your computer's operating system, all software, make sure it's up to date. Those updates often include patches that fix security vulnerabilities.
And using automated patching systems where possible, right?
Absolutely. Automation's key. It takes the burden off individuals and makes sure those updates happen quickly and consistently, which closes those security gaps before hackers can exploit them.
And then we should also be doing regular vulnerability scanning, right? To find those weaknesses before someone else does.
Exactly. Those automated scans are like a health check for your systems. They help pinpoint potential security issues before they become a problem.
And of course, good old malware scans. Those are still crucial.
Definitely. Schedule regular scans across all your devices. It helps detect and remove any malware that might have snuck in.
And the guide is a big fan of detailed system activity logs. Why are those so important?
Think of them like a security camera for your computer. If there's a security incident, those logs can help you figure out what happened, how it happened, who was involved, all that stuff. It's essential for investigating and recovering from a breach.
Now, the guide also has a whole section on training and awareness for business owners, which to me is a reminder that people are still the weakest link, right?
Oh, absolutely. A team that understands cybersecurity risks and how to protect themselves, that's your best defense.
So the guide recommends regular workshops and seminars on topics like secure AI usage, data privacy, all that good stuff.
Yeah, keep those security skills sharp. And those sessions are a chance for employees to ask questions, learn practical tips, stay up to date.
And to make the training more engaging, interactive simulations.
Oh yeah, those are great. It's one thing to hear about a phishing attack, it's another to actually experience a simulated one in a safe environment. It helps people learn by doing.
And tailoring the training to different roles within the company, right? Because not everyone has the same level of access or responsibility.
Exactly. You want the training to be relevant and targeted.
Beyond formal training, the guide talks about continuous cybersecurity awareness initiatives. So it's not just a one-time thing.
No, it's got to be ongoing. Keep security top of mind with reminders, tips, updates, keep people engaged.
And to encourage good security habits, the guide suggests certification and recognition programs.
Yeah, reward people for doing the right thing. It helps create a culture of security within the organization.
And finally, the guide mentions Rhino cybersecurity awareness training as a specific resource businesses might want to check out.
It sounds like a pretty comprehensive program, yeah. Might be worth looking into for businesses looking for structured training.
Okay, so to sum up this deep dive into AI is not a toy, it's clear that AI tools, while super cool and powerful, definitely come with cybersecurity baggage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There are risks with how we handle data, the platforms we use, the ever-present threats of malware and identity theft.
But the good news is we can mitigate these risks, right?
Absolutely. The key is being proactive. If we put those best practices into action, handling data securely, sticking to trusted platforms, using strong authentication, being smart about malware and phishing, all the things we discussed, then we can enjoy the benefits of AI without putting ourselves at undue risk.
And it really makes you think, especially with how fast everything's changing, both the technology and the threats, what steps are you going to take today to make sure you're staying safe in this digital world? It's something we all have to think about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.